Saturday. Now, I've been singing this song for nearly 30 years, oh my goodness. So it is, could you move that way? Just so, yeah, just in case I'm sorry. And every Saturday, somewhere in the world, literally in the world, I'll be singing this song. So, Black Lives Matter people, if you want to get up and enjoy yourself, and let's bring some love to the party. And as all the raves and all the live events have been cancelled this year, it's an honour to be here. Okay, let's go back to the 90s. Right, pump me up, babe. Yeah, okay, that's cool. If you can get a little bit more volume. Are you ready?
Back in the 90s. Come on, let's pretend we're in Ibiza on the beach. Come on. 2 in. I'm gonna get you, baby. 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 I'm gonna get you, baby.
Yo, DJ, pump this party.
Come on, Black Lives Matter. Let's do it. Let's rock the George. Why waste your time? You know you're gonna be mine. Why waste your time? You know you're gonna be my baby, baby, baby. get you, yes I am. Okay, thank you. Whew. I'm a bit rusty since the lockdown because there's been no work, obviously. No gigs. Okay, I'm going to do this last one. And if I had a radio mic, I would work you a little bit more and come out and dance and all of that, but I can't because I've got a lead night. So we're going to do the next Bizarre Inc. track. Came out in 1991. For the people who like to rave, I know there's a lot of you weren't even born then, but this one is for the ravers. Let's do it. Thanks, guys. Back in the day. Are you ready? Black Lives Matter, come on. Here's a tune I need to work up £10 since lockdown. Are you ready? Yeah! Who had an Amstrad stereo back in the day? Who had an Amstrad stereo? Gotta get up, got to feel good. Gotta get up, got to feel good. Gotta get, you gotta get, you gotta get, you gotta get, you gotta get up, got to feel good. Gotta get up, got to feel good. Gotta get, you gotta get, you gotta get, you gotta get. Hands in the air. Come on, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, DJ. Alright. Well, baby, yeah. Dance while the record spins. Back in the day, back in the 90s. Back in the day. Back in the day, back in the 90s. Yeah! Alright! Back in the 90s, when love was love and the DJs rocked. Come on, come on! Teaching people! Gotta get, you gotta feel, you gotta get, you gotta feel, you gotta get up. Got to feel good. You gotta get, you gotta feel, you gotta get, you gotta feel, you gotta get up. Got to feel good, got to feel good. Pass in the air. Yeah! Feel the love. Back in the day. Receive the love, receive the sun. Come on. Hey, alright. Oh, well, baby, yeah. We're gonna mix it up live for you now. Goes like this. Finally, it's happened to me right front of my face. Just kinda, yeah, it mixes, doesn't it? Finally, it's happened to me right front of my face. Just kinda hot, one section. Finally, finally, you come along, yeah. Finally, here's the pressure. These are good, these are good. Ebony's are good. Back in the day, top of the pops and all that. We're gonna mix another one in. We're gonna mix some Adele because I think she's a little bit boring, just me. Okay, we can Thank you so much. I'm Angie Brown. Very kind.
Come out constantly, day after day, week after week, to protest Black Lives Matter. Now, we all know that the protests were started because of the death of George Floyd and because of general brutality faced by black men from the police. That's not something we're a stranger to here in the UK, with a number of deaths in custody and black people being more likely to be stopped and searched. Well, we know that racial injustice doesn't end there. It doesn't end there at all. Black people's lives are affected from housing to education, from employment and wages and every single thing in between. So people are standing up and calling for justice for all of these things. And it's really important that we continue to do it. And what's been so inspiring is that we've seen these protests before, and we've seen them when other incidents have happened, when it's happened to somebody else, but we haven't seen it in this sustained way. And we haven't been at a point in time where people have been willing to stand up and listen. Across the country, institutions, and you know, some of them are doing it tokenistically. Let's not be delusional about that. But people are really, really taking stock. People are asking themselves what they can do to be better anti-racist, and they're doing it day in and day out. Now, we know we've got the issue of coronavirus, and we know that at the moment that's affecting black and Asian communities more than anyone. And I'm really pleased to see that yesterday the Ubele initiative is actually taking the government to court for their inaction to protect black communities from the coronavirus. Because, you know, when we found that elderly people were most affected, we decided to shield them. When we found that people with underlying health conditions like diabetes were most affected, we took the time to shield them. And they have known for a long time exactly which people in the black community are most affected from the coronavirus, and they are happy to send them out as key workers day after day, literally cannon fodder to COVID, and that is an absolute disgrace. And instead of taking action immediately, they said we should have a review. The review was published, part of the review was published. We now see their recommendations, and the government has got no plans to put any actions. In fact, following all this protest, they said they're going to have a commission to look into racial equality. What is there to look into anymore? Review after review, inquiry after inquiry has listed again and again exactly what the injustices are in our community. And at the moment, they should be making plans to take action. Take action, no more delay. But it's always so hard when it comes to black people, always a delay. And we need to stop that. And because we are coming out every week, because we are doing that, people are taking view, listening to what we have to say, and it's important that we keep up that pressure. Now, there's one thing that I've heard over the past few weeks that's really got to me. When we say Black Lives Matter, people say all lives matter. Now, of course, all lives should matter, but because of everything I've just said, it's clear that black lives do not matter. And actually, you know, when there is a campaign, which campaign anywhere got to where they did by stating the obvious? So Cancer Research Campaign, no one's come to them and said, gosh, we should really call it the Every Single Thing You Can Die From campaign, because people die from other things. It's absolutely ridiculous. We are saying Black Lives Matter because it's clear that black lives don't, and we will keep shouting it until we get the racial justice we deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Belle. Thanks for coming along. Belle Ribeiro Addy, Member of Parliament for Streatham. Thank you for coming to support us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to celebrate black culture, and our next speaker is a prize-winning author, talking of her experience as an activist and as a mixed-race lady. This is Wandsworth Jane Goldsmith.
Thank you. It's fantastic to see you all here. Amazing. Wonderful turnout. And you know, I wish you'd been there when I was 4 years old, because I was brought up by a white single mother in an all-white community, and I just didn't meet or see anyone who looked like me. I spent the first 6 weeks of my life in an unmarried mother's home with my mum. She got kicked out of home, but eventually we came back to stay with my grandparents. So I was living in Battersea, and then it wasn't gentrified, it was a working class estate, I was the only brown kid on the block. You can imagine I felt as if I had been dropped from outer space. I stood out like a sore thumb. And of course at school I got called a lot of racist names, woggy, darky, blackie, nigger, whatever, and I just had nobody to talk to about it, because at that time you weren't here and I was doing this all on my own. And I think there was one chance meeting on Clapham Common in 1957, which I tell you changed my life. And I just want to read a little bit from my book, just to give you a flavour of what it was like for me. It was November, it was really foggy, it was cold, it was damp. I'd just been playing on the swings, and this is the momentous meeting that I had. In the foggy half-light, I can just about make up a family group moving slowly across the grass ahead of us. As we get nearer, I can see they're wearing the strangest clothes. Long robes and trousers, glimpses of red, gold and blue, with short jackets and scarves and hats to keep out the late autumn chill. The woman is wearing a green and gold scarf around her head, like a turban. They stand out in the fast fading light, like a flock of brightly coloured birds. And the smallest bird breaks away from the group, and she runs towards me, a little girl, the same age as me, about 4 years old. And she has dark skin and black fuzzy hair like mine. We stop and stare at each other, spellbound, rooted to the spot. A sudden shock of connection, of recognition. I know you. Kumba, Kumba. I think it was Kumba they called her, something like that. Kumba ran off to join her family, and they move off across the common and out of sight. It all happened so quickly, I can't quite believe what I've just seen. I try to run after her, but Auntie Belinda holds me back. We have to go home now, she coaxes. Your mum will be back from work soon, and it's getting dark. Nan will have tea ready. Tea time. It always interrupts something really, really important, just at the wrong moment. I have stumbled on a secret. I'm not the only one. There are others, people who look like me. And more than that, coloured people sometimes come in whole families. Who knew? Mum, dad and kids, not just one-offs like me. I feel strange, excited, scared, shocked, all at the same time, but somehow comforted. So this incident, this meeting with somebody like looking in a mirror, it set up in me, aged only 4 years old, a deep sense of justice and wanting to belong. And that's carried me all the way through my life and made me into a 4-year-old activist. And I wrote my book, The Space Between Black and White, about mixed race identity, because I don't know if you know this, but mixed race is the fastest growing ethnic minority in the UK. There's millions of us now, 2.5 million to be exact, or probably more. And I wanted to shed new depth and light on this issue, because we're often sort of dismissed as like identity politics or whatever. But I wanted, through my personal story, to show you people that it is complicated being mixed race. My story takes you across Latin America, Europe, Africa, Asia. I'm traveling to all different parts of the world and seeing how people, what people make of my identity and what people make of me, and how I struggled in all those different areas. And I explain how this story's got a happy ending, that eventually I went to Ghana, met my dad for the first time in my 30s, and now I'm queen of my village in Ghana. So You can tell this is not a theoretical book. It's a story. We've all got stories. We all need more stories. And you know, only 8% of all books published in the UK are written by black or authors of colour and or have even any black characters in them. This is not good enough. And recently, I've been one of 100 writers like Raaae Edo-Lodge and Afua Hirsch and our very own Bernardine Avaristo and hundreds more writers. We have taken on the white publishing industry and said, you are not publishing our books. We got loads of fantastic stories, human stories. We need these books for ourselves and for our children. So you lot better get writing because we need more, absolutely more. Now, I've been an activist all my life, fighting for change. I was one of the first black student leaders in the 70s. I've been in the forefront of the women's movement, the anti-apartheid movement, and I've been one of the first volunteers, black volunteers sent to Africa in the 70s. So I've been in the forefront of the struggle all my life, and I can tell you things do change. I've witnessed a lot of turning points. I never dreamed that the apartheid regime would come to an end in my lifetime. But one of the proudest moments was for me to see Mandela walk free and become president of South Africa. So things do change, and I've been fighting all my life for justice, but I can tell you this feels different. This really does feel like we're on a turning point, we're on a tipping point, and if we keep going, we will win. COVID has exposed the racism, sexism, and inequality, not just in institutions, but in the whole world system, the whole world global capitalist system, which does nobody any good except a very small minority of people. And we've got huge demonstrations in America and around the world because of the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. So that has been a huge upsurge in the middle of a global pandemic. Who'd have thought, yeah? And as our MP said before this, people of colour dying in much greater numbers on the front line of NHS while they're saving our lives. All these things have come together to tell us a big story. This changes everything, and everything must change. Every single one of you, wherever you are, wherever you live, whatever you do for a living, go in there and challenge it and say, this is not enough. We need equality. We need an end to racism. We need change. We're coming together, black, white, people of colour, to challenge racism and white supremacy all over the world. We're not alone. So now there's lots of people who look like me on the Commons in South London, I'm very pleased to say. Only they are a lot younger than me. At least they look a lot younger than me anyway. So this was completely different from when I was a child, but mine is a human story. We've all of us been in the space between black and white at some time or other in our lives. When we don't quite fit, we don't know what to do, we don't know what to say. And I hope that my book is going to help us have some of those conversations about race, about equality, and about justice. And I'm looking at all of you and thinking, I wonder what my 4-year-old would have made of all of you sitting here, supporting, talking, being in solidarity. I think she would have thought, fantastic, at last I am not the only one. There's more of us. And she'd say, thank God, I've got mates. Black lives, mates. Black lives matter. Thank you.
Sponsor Jane Goldsmith, everyone. This wonderful woman is doing a book signing. The excerpt we heard I need to know the rest of it. So if anyone wants to get a copy, please see her at the table. Thank you, Eswanza. And we also have a local businesswoman, Pebbles. Pebbles, give us a wave. She is selling face masks. They're handmade. We want to support our local people in what we're doing here today. And so thank you, everyone. Our next speaker is a gentleman who has come to make the link with the African heritage in the Black Lives Matter movement. So this is JB, everyone. Thank you.
Greetings everyone. In the name of the Most High Jah, I say Jah, Rastafari. Well, I JB come to speak under the Black Lives banner as the Cushite spirit of declaration. Why I say Cushite, it's important that we name ourselves. That's the first stage to beating down racism. Through history we have been defined by other people, so once we are still called black and we are still called African, that is a name that has been defined by us, by Arabs, by Europeans. There's no black land, yes? So it is better we ask where we come from. Some of us are Cushites, some of us come from Kemet, some of us come from Libya. You know, it's not good to give a term which is Germanic. We don't get up and say, hello, cracker, you know, which is not right. So when you call us by certain titles, it'd be blessed if you ask us what our name is. Same thing with the guys from east of the world. You have a term, call them Asians. And many are not happy with that term. It's like calling us a Negro. Ask them where they come from. It could be Bangladesh, it could be Pakistan. So these thought patterns have to be readjusted before racism is even attacked. So as I said, we are here today to remember the life of the late, great George Floyd. You know, and I send out condolences to his family and his friends and those who knew him personally, because they are feeling that right now. And many of us can empathize and sympathize with that feeling, because we know family and friends who have been through such atrocities. Now, I'd just like to make it clear that from statistics from Piper and Arrow, according to this charity, they said since 1990, nearly 1,741 people of colour have died in police custody or in police contact. And I could say now it may be triple that. That was 1990. And nothing has been done, no steps have been taken, and none of these police have been brought to justice. Here's a few of the names: Sheku Bayo, Mikey Powell, Leon Biggs, Sean Rigg, Mark Duggan, Smiley Culture, Ricky Bishop. The list goes on. We have the women. What happened in Brixton? You had the riots in the 70s when you had Cynthia Jarrett, and you had Cherry Gross. You know, we can't leave out the empresses, the big women that were attacked by the police in these times. So I know this is caused by an illness, and to me this illness is racism. Racism is a philosophy. It's not a fact. It's a fact that we live and we die. But racism is an ideology, and His Imperial Majesty made this clear. And I'm sure you all know Bob Marley. Bob Marley put it to song with the song called War, which was until the philosophy which hold one race superior and another race inferior is finally annihilated, there will be war. Until there's no longer first class, no second class citizens of any nation, there will be war. Until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, there will be war. And until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regards to race. And until the ignoble and unhappy regimes that hold our brothers down in Angola, South Africa, Mozambique have been toppled and utterly destroyed, there's going to be war. And we can see by the state the world is, and it's not getting better. Every day we're hearing some new unrest across the world where people are not happy with the systems that control them. So, I'll put my glasses. So today, I would like us to remember all of those fallen soldiers that have passed, all of the families, and I'd like us to take a refresher
That she's
and look
trying
at
to
these
give
words.
us. Hannah Markham.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for coming out today to support this amazing event that's been organised by the dedicated group of people that you see behind me. This week we had a seething flood of pent-up pain that was unleashed on the internet by our community's former and current students. Your stories were no different to the stories that Jane told you today. Reading your stories you had previously tried to share, previously had to suppress in order to fit in. Stories that you thought had only happened to you. Reading your stories of racism got everyone talking and posting and sharing and discussing. What we read was appalling, but we knew that for every shared story, there were countless more still waiting to be told. Providing a platform for the people that felt they didn't have a voice was our intention behind the pages, and your stories came pouring in like blood gushing from a deep wound that many of you had tried to scab over with your fake laughs and false smiles. Fake laughs and false smiles for years. Your stories show there's a huge disparity between the experiences of students of colour and their white counterparts at this school. Teachers routinely serve out detentions to black students for the same incidents that white children go unpunished for. Members of staff have made wildly inappropriate comments to black students in front of others. Sorry about that. Black students have had their behaviour or their clothing labelled as thuggish. There really is no excuse for our teachers' ignorance when the purpose of their career is to educate the future generation. Your stories tell us that you've been denied permission by your heads of year to leave school early to attend things like mosque studies or Diwali celebrations. You've been penalised for wearing do-rags, weaves, wigs or religious dress to school. You've been prevented from setting up an Afro-Caribbean society, and you've been denied access to a dignified prayer space. Nearly all of your stories reference the damaging impact that being labelled as lower by the streaming system has had on your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth. From the outside is a structure that's created a segregated school, but from the inside, we've created an ethnic hierarchy that's been internalised by our children. I always came home thinking, if only I was white, someone told us. Our mixed race students and Somalian children tell us horrific stories of abuse, targeted for not being considered black enough. Your stories prove that the current system in place has done nothing to empower nor improve the well-being or achievements of these children that we all know have to work twice as hard to get half as far. The extension band at Graveney is referred to as its unique selling point. But this school is not a business, and its focus should be on progress and not on profits. Since my time there, the number of students that are selectively admitted on their exam results has increased, and the local catchment area has shrunk. The vocational qualifications and practical courses have been dropped from the syllabus. We're finding that the financial cuts have had a huge strain on the SEN department and the learning support team. The school's motto is committed to excellence, but in practice it seems to be committed to extension. At 11 years old, being labelled lower breaks the child down. To identify your most vulnerable students but then consistently fail by not supporting them academically, not providing them with adequate mental health support, not celebrating their successes and achievements, nor treating them as individuals or taking their grievances seriously. All these failures, they totally destroy a child's chance of success as they carry that pain into their adulthood. We've already seen sister pages created for Graveney stories of sexism and Graveney stories of mental health, and we fully expect to see more. Our students have been desperate to have their voices heard for too long. We won't be ignored. The online petition that's been set up by our group calling to change the streaming system has almost 1,000 signatures, and I wrote this yesterday, so I don't know, it might be more right now. With your permission, your anonymous stories have been submitted to the school as evidence to support this. The current educational research shows that mixed ability teaching sets only raises the attainment of all its students, and that children learn through an appropriate amount of struggle and challenge. But our children are experiencing the wrong kind of struggles and the wrong kind of challenges in our classroom. On Monday, 13 ex-students that are working behind the scenes at Graveney Stories of Racism, many of them are here in the crowd today, anonymously. They're meeting with the school to demand change. We've collected suggestions from your stories and from our group's own personal experiences of racism to create a plan of action that tackles the issues still being faced by the Black, Asian and minority ethnic students at our school. And we intend to make sure that Graveney follows through on the actions that we suggest, starting by changing the current streaming system and decolonising the teaching of their curriculum. We are there to speak on behalf of you, and we look forward to publishing a statement within 24 hours of the meeting, a move which has been welcomed by local parents, activist groups, counsellors and journalists. This is only the beginning. I'd really like to end here now by thanking each and every one of you that's been brave enough to share their stories with us, both publicly and privately. This change wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for you. To those of you who shared your stories on behalf of friends, or stories that you happen to witness, please continue to challenge any racism you encounter in your daily lives. To those of you that created fake email accounts to conceal your identities, I assure you, your stories are in safe hands. To those of you that feel guilty for allowing all those moments to pass unchallenged, I tell you now, it's never too late to change. And to all of you that bravely shared your story with the world, I thank you on behalf of all the students that are still finding the strength to do so. Thank you.
Brian Richards, thank you.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you to the organisers of this event, and thank you to each and every one of you for coming out here. It is a sign of the times that when we're supposed to be staying at home, maintaining social distance, not congregating, that we feel so passionately about this issue that we're meeting in parks and gatherings in such huge numbers. 2 days ago, the great black woman revolutionary Angela Davis, in an interview to mark Juneteenth, the day in which the last slave was finally emancipated in the United States, she said, "We are living at an extraordinary moment." And this is someone who lived through the struggles of the 60s, the great civil rights marches, the great Black Power uprisings. This is somebody who was herself imprisoned and tried for serious crimes, and for whom there had to be huge campaigns to release. And she says that right now we are living in an extraordinary moment. And she is absolutely right, because the movement that has erupted onto the streets in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd has been huge, bigger and deeper and more diverse in America itself than even the uprisings that occurred after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King in 1968. Bigger, deeper, more widespread. but it's also an international movement, isn't it? And an international movement that is taking inspiration from struggles all around the world. And so it is that when people in Bristol 2 weeks ago ripped down that statue and threw it into the river, that reverberated back to the United States and was mentioned by the Reverend Al Sharpton at the funeral of George Floyd. And it showed this isn't just a tokenistic protest to throw statues in the river, but it's an argument about what really happened in history, what the real role was of people like Edward Colston was, the real role of people like Cecil Rhodes, the real role of people like Winston Churchill. And we say we don't want to just blackwash history, we want a discussion about the real history. So yes, if you want to talk about Winston Churchill, talk about Winston Churchill being a great war leader if you want to, but talk also about how he starved people in Bengal so that millions died in a famine in 1943. You want to talk about Cecil Rhodes, talk about the fact that Cape Town University is built on land that was stolen by the black people who lived there in the first place. And the Oriel College in Oxford, bequeathed by the Rhodes Foundation, is built by money that was stolen by the people in Southern Africa. And you've just heard, of course, from a sister who talks about racism in schools today. We know that isn't new. 40 years ago, Bernard Cord and the Black Parents Movement wrote a pamphlet called How the West Indian Child is Made Educationally Subnormal in the British School System. Why did they write the pamphlet? Because they knew then that their children who they knew because of the experience in supplementary schools, in Sunday schools, they knew that their children could achieve. But when they went into mainstream schools, they were being dumped into the lowest classes. They weren't being entered for exams. They were being disproportionately excluded. That was in 1971. But as you've just heard, that is exactly the experience that all too many are having here today. That's why there aren't more black barristers. That's why there aren't more black MPs. It's not because people like me are fantastically brilliant. No, I'm not. It's because I had the support, the encouragement and nurturing of teachers, of parents and of a community behind me back in the 1980s. And we need to regenerate that kind of energy, that kind of anger and that kind of action. And that is why the challenge for us is to ensure that the extraordinary moment that Angela Davis talked about isn't just a moment, that it doesn't just disappear when it stops trending on Twitter, that Black Lives Matter has to mean more than just a slogan, that Black Lives Matter is a movement, and it's a movement for lasting and radical change. That's why it's so great to see so many people here today, and so many people of all different backgrounds, black, white, mixed race, gay, straight, young and old. It's fantastic to see so many people in gatherings like this all around the country and all around the world. But let's make sure that at the end of today, we go back to our families, we go back to our communities, our colleges, our classrooms, our workplaces, our trade unions, our faith groups, wherever we meet other people, and that we multiply this movement so that they can't put us back into their box once lockdown is over. And that we create a movement for lasting and radical change. Thank you very much, sisters and brothers. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay in the struggle.
Inspirational. Give it up for Brian Richardson. A barrister, a black man. This is Raaae, babe, everyone.
Hi everyone. I'm singing this song because it represents change, and also I want to say Happy Father's Day to everyone as well. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in my Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Oh, where troubles melt like lemon drops, away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Oh, where troubles melt like lemon drops, away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't I?
Well done. Raaae, babe, everyone. That was beautiful. A young woman, come out the front, babe. Come on. A young black woman that we can be proud of in our community. She's only 16, everyone, with a voice like that. This is the future right here, yeah? This is what we're here for. Her future and all of our children's futures. Thank you, Raaae, babe. Thank you, my darling. This is what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we're here. And the next people to speak are Tanya and Amina from an organisation that raise awareness of mental health in our BME community because it's overlooked. This is Black Minds Matter.
Hi everyone. I'm so proud of Raaae, that's my young person. That's my claim to fame. I'm too hard. Hello everybody, just welcome. My name is Tanya, as I was introduced. I just want to say Happy Father's Day, and I want to especially say to our black men, your lives matter. Black men, your lives matter. Happy Father's Day to you guys. We appreciate and we love you. We know the things that you have to go through in the fight. We appreciate it and we love you guys. So I just want to say that black men obviously start off as black children, black babies, black children, and they become black boys. We run an organisation called Black Minds Matter. It is a youth leadership development programme for the BME community. We especially work with young BME community to raise them up to be leaders of social change. So our organisation deals with the evidence that is totally out there that young black BME young people are featured higher, social exclusion, mental institutions, prison, at-risk, children going missing. Any area in society where there is struggle, our black young people are featured higher on the statistics, even more so our black boys. So our organisation has been championed fighting, trying to orchestrate change from a political to a ground level. And so what we wanted to do is empower our young people. Many people have approached me, and I thank you so very much for how you can make donations to our organisation. We have a GoFund page that is called Black Minds Matter BMM. It's our youth leadership program. It sits under our charity, Wandsworth Community Interns, one of our generals of the young people. She's absolutely a champion and activist. She's absolutely incredible. It's a real honour again for me to walk with them. I've got loads of giants. There's like about 40 of us so far in the programme. We've been going for about 3 years. Celebrate with me our next radical young person, our future leader, Amina.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's good and stuff. I just want to say a little piece. I'm going to speak a bit of spoken word, a bit of straight from the heart. I'm not really going to give you too much, but I'm going to give you a little bit of what we're really made of at Black Minds Matter. So I'm just going to start with a bit of poetry and stuff, but I'm going to let you guys know this mostly is coming from my heart. So, how does it feel to be black? Every day feeling like you really can't lack. Every day trying to show you make ends meet. Gotta stay strong on your own 2 feet. Yeah? So with black people, a lot of communities are coming from a hard struggle in a sense of poverty, in a sense of coming from, their children are getting sent to school and they're feeling institutional racism, in a sense of when their children are in school and they're not able to cope with the pressures of life, and they're, for instance, play up in school, their behavior, attitude, for instance, it comes from a place of which they're facing things outside of schools, pressures, like poverty, like the sense of the community that they're living in. They're not able to speak up and be who they really want to be. And I feel like when they're out in school and stuff, for instance, because it's an institution, the way that they're set out, they're not able to speak and say, oh, this is what I'm really meant for. At Black Minds Matter, what we do, we try to give these people that are feeling that type of way opportunity to still be that person that they are, and give them opportunity to then try and help their position by giving them creative therapies that are giving them a different outlook, not just isolation, because I was once that young person that was in isolation and it wasn't getting education in the mainstream education setting. And I feel like a lot of young black people, they're going through that type of stuff because they're not facing the right sort of solutions for themselves. And we then create creative opportunities, for instance, drama therapies, for instance, art. So if you a lot of people here know about drum music, for instance, that's giving a young person a point of view where they can express their struggles and their trauma, for instance, and expressing a certain type of way that is not just being violent or killing other young people, but it's a way that they can express themselves. With our way, we're giving them art therapies where they're then expressing themselves in a way of which they can then get that adverse childhood experiences, A scores. I don't know if you guys know about that. You can research in the Dean Burke Harris, which is on TED Talks, and you can go on there and you can look at her TED Talk, and it talks about that, where when you're from a young age and you haven't ate things at night, you haven't, for instance, bathed properly at night, you haven't done that type of stuff, it then builds up toxins within your body where you're not able to then go upon your normal day of life, because you're facing different adversities that are then not allowing you to live a normal way of life. And then you're then on the bigger scale of life where you're out with your white peers and they're not thinking about that type of stuff because they have white privilege. They have white privilege that is then showing that they don't even need to think about the fact that they're not eating at night, for instance. They're then thinking that those type of things are not connecting to who they need to be, kind of thing. And it's a thing where I feel like we need to be able to push as young black people and young black individual, and also white people that understand our struggle. I feel like we're all collective. It's not just a black problem at the end of the day. It's a thing where it's everyone's problem, because society speaks from everyone's point of view. It's not just a thing where black people should struggle like that. It's a thing where everyone is really seeing that struggle, but the white privilege more so is what blocks people from not understanding that it's also their problem as well. It's a societal issue. And yeah, I just feel like, yeah, we have to big up everybody, and yeah, like, love to everyone.
Another wonderful young lady representing our community. This is what it's all about. This is why we're here, to celebrate our culture. And so what we need to do is I need to introduce the next speaker, who's going to let us know what is next.
Hi everyone. Let's make no mistake, what we are in right now is we are in a brink of amazing change. When is the last time that you saw tens and thousands of people out on the streets in the midst of a pandemic? In the US, almost every single day since May, 450 protests have been called in 88 cities across the world. Right now, the world is saying Black Lives Matter. Wow! Like, that's just truly incredible. It's phenomenal. And we're making gains. I don't think without the protests, the men that murdered George Floyd would have been charged. I don't think without the protests, their charges would have been upped. I don't think Breonna Taylor's case would have been reinvestigated if it's not for the protests. And we're seeing streets renamed Black Lives Matter. We're seeing plazas being named Black Lives Matter. We're seeing police stations and police departments actually say for the first time, we're going to cut our funding. And that's amazing and that's incredible. But make no mistake, we are on an uphill battle. Racism and the systems that protect racism and institute racism have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's not going to be quick, and it's not going to be easy to dismantle racism, but it is necessary. So how do we do this? What do we do next? Because the protests are amazing, but we can't continue just to protest. We need to be thinking about how we move forward. And I've kind of collated it into just 3 things. First, we need to learn. And this is why we need to learn. It's because there is a false narrative in the UK, all over Western countries, that black people don't have worth. There is a false narrative that we and our ancestors and our great-great-grandmothers and our grandmas didn't build this country, didn't build the institutions that had been made, weren't off the backs of our slaves, weren't off the backs of the Windrush generation, and this is not being taught. And why is it not being taught? So when you see fascists and racists last week in London shouting and drinking and get all pissy, it's not about a statue. What it is that statue represents a false narrative and a fabric of white supremacy. And what the problem is now is that they are scared. And they are scared because not only are we ripping down these statues, we're ripping down these ideas and what they represent. So let's continue to learn. Let's continue to amplify black voices, because far too long we have been silenced, and there is a pain in our people, and that can't even be begun to be dealt with unless you hear what we have to say. Then we have to demand, because quite frankly, I am not asking politely for equality anymore. I am demanding equality, because I don't want to be here in 50 years making the exact same speech about what we're doing. So it means justice for all of those lives that have been taken at the hands of police custody. It means I want to see more funding for lower income families. It means I want to see ideas and protections for NHS and the migrants that make this country. I want to see more youth clubs. I want to see more art programs. I want to see justice for Belly Majinga. I want to see justice for Grenfell, because quite frankly 3 years is 3 years too late. And we need to be taking these solid ideas of demand not only to our MPs and to our councillors, but to our head teachers and to our bosses, and making sure that when we say Black Lives Matter, we are meaning all Black Lives Matter, and we mean that we want something solid and tangible that we can see. And it brings me to my 3rd point, which is solidarity. And let me tell you about solidarity. It is not just lip service. It is a conscious action to unite and make collective change. And this is what you're all experiencing here today. And I'll tell you why solidarity is important. Because it's one of the best tools that we can use for humanity. It's one of the best tools of empathy. It's one of the best tools to say enough is enough. So So it's not going to take black people ending racism on their own. We can't do it on our own. And quite frankly, why should we do it on our own? It's going to take black and white people uniting together, making collective action and collective change, saying enough is enough. Because quite frankly, I don't want this to be a moment. This is not a moment. This is a movement. It is a revolutionary movement, and we need to make sure that our voices are heard. Thank you, everyone.
Elizabeth Adufu, everyone. That was beautiful. That's the message. That's what it's going to take for us to continue this. So we're coming to the close. We've got our last two performers just to ease us down. We've got a wonderful young lady now here for us today. She was here last week. She's bringing it back. Poetess Jess, everyone.
Let me hear record again. How is everyone doing? You know, it's such an honour to be back here by public demand. I was here last week, and you know, I didn't even expect to receive the comments and the comments I received. I was so overwhelmed. Everybody messaging me in my inbox on Twitter, on Facebook, can you come back and do the same poem? So I don't take this lightly. And just before I start, you know, where is she? The young lady that spoke, amazing. And so this week I went to a funeral, and I went to a funeral of a 2-year-old, and it just reminded me that tomorrow is not promised, and that the richest place on earth is the graveyard, because everyone dies with talents, they die with gifts, they die with a lot of things in them. And it just reminded me that, you know, us that are living and breathing, we need to understand that we're good people. We need to understand that you can't take your house, you can't take white privilege to the grave with you. Do you know what I mean? So you got to live good with people while you are living and breathing. So I'm going to do the same poem that I done last week. And if you was here last week, you know that I'm a very interactive poet. So I love, if you're familiar with the spoken word, we like to click our fingers. So as this is a big field, a big part, can I just hear you clap your hands for a second? Right, so I'm going to go against the grain of spoken word, and instead of clicking your fingers, I just want you to clap your hands when you hear something that resonates with you, right? So can I hear you clap your hands again? Right, I've got your attention. Here we go. I said that I was going to start using my spoken word platform to talk back. So let me start by talking black. But before I speak, must I dilute my speech? Am I even free to speak because I understand that the pigment of my skin doesn't qualify me? But let me start. Let me talk from the heart. Where do I even begin? Where do I even start from? The fact that black people have always been placed at the bottom. And instead of being treated like people, we get treated as the problem. And you know that problems cannot be solved with the same thinking that created them. So why do you hate me then? And you don't understand why we are lashing out in ways that you did not expect. Do you understand how dominoes connect? Because if you understood, you understand that this protest is a dominoes effect. So black people, please, I beseech you, don't believe the lies. Because I understand that in the educational system, they're teaching you half the truth, when half the truth is a whole lie. Slavery was not just our history, it is only part of it. And I didn't understand why they didn't want to tell us the other half of it. They just wanted to tell us part of it. So let me start by telling you this. Black people, you were made in his image and in his likeness. This right here, we are black in his image and in his highness, cut from the finest, so elegant and unique no other ethnicity could ever critique, and it's deep. Because all our melanin is carved in palaces and halls. They can hear our hymnals echo through the walls. We are the treasure that is laid in earth and vessels. Black people, we aim high, so we are never settled. Black people, please understand that you are graced for a purpose. And everything that you went through in your life, you went through on purpose. Only for you to give birth to your purpose. Black people, you are a landmark of greatness. Your character is courageous. Your energy is contagious. Your mindset is blameless. You are giving and gracious. Black people, you are not selfish, but you are selfless. And it's not that you do not care about yourself, you just think of yourself less. So get rid of all that heavy weight so that you can become weightless, because today you will understand that excess isn't needed for access. And please, stop going back to see if they finally understand you. If they didn't understand us back then and we have grown, why would they understand us now when we've come into our own? Black people, dust off your crown, go sit on your throne, because you are the star that everyone is wishing on. It's your time, it's your hour, it's our season, and our set time has come. So black people, before you quit, remember why you started. Remember why you lit your flame. Remember why you sparked it. Remember why your peak is still worth climbing, and why you can't stop black people, and why you've got to keep on striving. Remember, everything happens in God's timing. It's all about aligning and appointed timing. You see, it's so easy for us to walk away, because we always feel that we're being left behind in our own lane. We keep swerving from lane to lane, and we find ourselves in the watchman's lane. We sit at watchman's lane. We can't pass memory lane. What a shame. I understand that we have slipped, we have tripped, and some of us can't even pass it. And black people, we can't call it the past unless we've passed it. So please, don't ever let your setback set you back. And if you take a blow, black people, just blow back. Let your setback know that racism is never gonna blow back. Know that. Know that your mind, black people, is like soil, and whatever seed you plant will unfold. I've been told that the very trees, they lose their leaves only to blossom in the summer. So black people, that means that you are on the come up. Realign. Growing from the ground up, black people, we are vines. Stop focusing on life the wrong way. Focus on your finish line. Understand, black people, that our race is not their race. So let's stop comparing our beginning to their middle. Lanes are parallel, and guess what? We're all just in the middle. Don't ever think that your progress is defeat. Don't ever think that your progress is little. Do not choose to be defeated, because black people, you are not an inconvenience. What you are is a convenience undefeated. And if I can get you to believe this, then lesson 1 is completed. Now is the time that we no longer stop. But black people, let's just take pauses. Let's not look back, but let's keep moving forward. Before you quit, remember why you started. Remember why you lit your flame, and remember why you sparked it. Remember why your peak is still worth climbing, black people, and why you can't stop, and why you've got to keep on striving. I'm Poetess Jess. Thank you for having me.
Give it up for Poetess Jess. That was beautiful. It doesn't matter. Dan, to finish us off, ladies and gentlemen.
Blessed love and greetings. How you feeling? Has everybody been having a blessed day today? Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's not political, but this song what I'm about to perform is actually called It Doesn't Matter. Yeah, but it's a song I wrote a few years ago. Yeah, so I'm just want to explain before I perform it, so you don't think I'm going against the grain of... You understand what I say? Say aye. Alright, so basically when I say it doesn't matter what race, colour or creed you are, because if we can all live in love and solidarity, yeah, and overlook everything, we wouldn't have these problems. You understand? So it's all about unity, because we're born as human beings. Yeah, biologically our chemistry doesn't carry a color. Yeah, when we're born as human beings. Yeah, racism is based from politics, which is used to segregate us. You understand? So the government, certain people, they use racism, the racism trick, the card as they say, yeah, to segregate us. And they use it via religion and all kind of things. So everybody matters, but it doesn't matter, because if we push aside our differences and all live in love and harmony and solidarity, it's one love. Selector, leg of the tune. You can all stand up for this one, you know, if you feel lively, you know. Who's got on their dancing shoes? Turn up the rhythm there, look more for me. Lord have mercy. Here we go. Hey, hey. Brother people, listen. Well, hey, it doesn't matter what race or class, color or creed you may be, as long as you're a human being, it's plain to see the same blood that we bleed. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, everyone was born a child, so live in love and let it be. Give thanks for life and every day that you breathe, and keep your vibration on a good energy. Listen, until the time that the color of a man's skin is no more significant than the color of his eyes. And nowadays everyone do their own thing, division, relation, all the pieces are divided. And Jah created all creatures great and small, and everything under the sun for mankind. So what we fighting for? Too much tribal war must be a sign of the it doesn't matter what race or class, color or creed you may be, as long as you're a human being, it is plain to see the same blood that we bleed. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, every man was born a child, so live in love and let it be. Give thanks for life and every day that you breathe, and keep your vibration on a good energy. Oh Lord have mercy, why can't we sort out our differences? Listen. Somebody got you more than one, and I feel it most. And the dark and the streets, and the hard and the struggle and trees get off your foot. Send everyone education, we come and kill off one another. Now no love for them, brother. Cause another man overboard. Stick them the ones who we float, ones who we jump on the banana world. Bumper club with a new world order, Babylon system and a support. From the sound of my feet to the ground on the edge, everyone break. Love thy neighbor. Live in love and let it be. It doesn't matter what race or class, color or creed you may be, as long as you're a human being, it's plain to see the same blood that we bleed. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, everyone was born a child, so live in love and let it be. Give thanks for life and every day that you breathe, and keep your vibration on a good energy. Why can't we sort out our differences? Yeah. When I say more, you say love more, more. When I say more, you say love more, more. Lovely. Thank you very much. Oh, you want one more? One more tune? Alright, turn down the rhythm a little bit. Turn down the rhythm a little bit. Turn up the microphone a bit. Listen, what a wicked thing them a create. Corona it on my shirt with. Yeah, pull up that one there. Pull up that one there. Right, so this one is about what I done when the lockdown and the corona. So it's about change, because I think change is what we need to go forward also. Yeah, so everything is there by design to suppress us, so we have to raise our vibration to make a change. Yeah? Unity is strength. Rhythm up. Yeah. One hear my voice. I don't want to struggle. Listen.
Check it out. What a wicked thing them a create. Corona it a mash up the place, yeah. Babylon them say fi stay in your yard. And if you go on road, make sure a mask on your face. Remember you fi sanitize your hands. And don't forget to keep a social distance. Oh Lord, them of the world in a quarantine. In the city, every town and scheme. We gonna make it through this. When we're living in a worldwide crisis. This a virus, no pick and choose. Everybody got something to lose. It's a time to live in love, not fair. Share a little, show somebody that you care. For all the wicked things that them plan to do, we are gonna left them to the more side, yeah. Them not gonna change it, only changes in us. Stand strong and well already. We need to be mentally and spiritually united. Cause them don't care about us. No, no, so don't miss up for wear material. Render your heart and what you find on the exterior. It's a pandemic, it's a mass hysteria. And shadows, gotta be strong. Listen. So clap your hands for all the medical workers and everyone we play them part to serve a purpose. You might not know where you for do, but you know worthless. Look for them a chase this social media like a circus. They're freaky things, them a screen it and no purpose. Progress, 2020 vision lead the focus. No weapons, safe homes shall not prosper. Make it through this. When we're living in a worldwide crisis, this a virus, no pick and choose. Everybody got something to lose. It's a time to live in love, not fair. Share a little, show somebody that you care. For all the wicked things that them plan to do, we are gonna left them to the more side, yeah. Them not gonna change it, only changes in us. Stand strong and well already. We need to be mentally and spiritually united. Cause them don't care about us. No, now so don't miss so forget material. Render your heart, not what you find on the exterior. This a pandemic, it's a mass hysteria. And shadows, better must come. We gotta be strong. The only changes in us. Stand strong and well already. We need to be spiritually united. Cause them don't care about us. No, no, so don't miss so for wear material. Render your heart, not what you find on the exterior. This a pandemic, it's a mass hysteria. And channels, better must come. We gotta be strong. Afterward.
Give it up for our last act, Dan I. Closing us out. We thank you all for coming.